Good morning. Welcome to Sustainable Leadership Live. I am Lisa Danforth, your host, and today I have the dynamic, amazing Rhonda Berns from Ronda Berns Consulting. Rhonda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Lisa. It's so great to be here with you today.
We're going to be talking about how to confidently have those sales conversations so that we can grow our revenue and we can thrive. So if any of you out there, whether you're watching live or on the replay, if your palms sweat, if your heart palpitates when you think about sales, this is definitely the conversation for you. So I say, let's jump right in, Rhonda, and let's get going. Let's talk about what trips people up, or maybe we're talking in the green room, what sales truly is, whichever one you want to jump in with.
Yeah. So, we talk about sales all the time. People have heard about sales over all the years. We all know we're supposed to be out doing sales. But when I ask people, what is sales? I get all different types of responses. I get this kind of visceral, like, oh, I don't like sales. I don't want to feel pushy. It doesn't feel natural to me. I can't use my own voice. I don't like it. And so that's what I hear most often when I ask people, how do they feel about sales? And so what I want to try to get people to start to think about is what sales is to me and what I truly believe it is. So I believe that sales is about building relationships. Yes. It's about, exactly, right? Spending time learning who is your ideal client? Who do you want to go out and meet? Why is that going to be your ideal client? And more importantly, what benefits do you offer your client? Why should they work with you? What do you offer them that would make sense for them to want to work with you?
So important, that relationship piece. And I think that's what we forget. We make it. And now I will admit, Rhonda and I have worked together a few times. She's phenomenal. Highly recommend. Reach out to her by all means. But what you really help me understand is that take the onus off from us. It is all about the client. We get really nervous and our palms sweat when we're making it about us, but when we can switch it, right, and start building the relationship in terms of the client, that's where we can all start leaning in and letting go.
Exactly, because what happens is we get so nervous because we think that we're going to have to give this sales pitch, that when we meet someone for the first time, we have to know everything we're going to say and everything we're going to offer and what our product is and what our service is, and the client doesn't care. And it's not that they're not going to get to know you and get to like you and get to trust you, which is one of the things that we want to do. But when we first meet somebody, it should be all about them. It should be about finding out more about them. What are they looking for? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to achieve? And if you can take the pressure off of giving your sales pitch and instead have a conversation that's really about building rapport and finding out more about the other person, number one, it takes all the pressure off of you, because now you're just asking questions.
And people really do like to talk about themselves for the most part. I have found.
If you show up with a set of questions, and this is where I also really highly recommend that you spend some time researching what kind of questions get people to open up. And everybody's a little bit different. I have a lot of people say, can you give me a script? I don't believe in script. I believe in learning a process. And then each time you meet somebody, you have kind of a process back and you have a set of questions that you like to use. Depending on who shows up, you're going to start to ask those particular questions. So for example, go ahead.
I was going to say, can you talk a little bit about that? Who shows up? Like, is it the person that's a little more outgoing, quiet, like that type of thing? I think it depends. And you taught me how to do the research. And I think that's where you were going to go.
Well, everyone's different. Lisa, you and I have known each other for years, but we're very different. So how I would talk to you versus somebody else, we're all very different people. We like to be talked to a little bit different. So if anyone's gone through like a Myers-Briggs or any of the personality, there's like 4 different quadrants, and people fall in that quadrant or different pieces. So you have some people that are very analytical. So if you came in and started asking them feel-good questions, they're going to start to shut down on you. But if you do the research ahead of time, you go onto Google, you go onto their LinkedIn account, you go into their Facebook or whatever, onto their websites are usually really good. You can find out a little bit about their personality. And this is where the research and planning come in. If you do the research on someone before you go meet with them, you're going to learn a little bit about them. And you have to make a few assumptions. But when you sit down and meet with them for the first time, you throw a couple out. Are they moving towards where you thought they were? So they like to talk a little bit. You find some things that are in common. You bring up conversations. What do they like? Hey, I heard a podcast that you did and you
Mhm.
talked about this. This was really interesting. Will you talk a little bit about that? So you're trying to find things that they are interested in, because what that does is it gets them to calm down. Because when you go meet someone for the first time, they know you're there to talk about your product or service. What if instead of that, you got them to talk about something that they're the expert in?
Mhm.
Now they're talking about things that they love, things that they can talk to. And now you can start to hear their personality even more. Were your assumptions right? Is this how they want to be spoken to? What words do they use?
Now, I want to back up a little bit. You talked about a script and you don't really believe in a script, but for me, because sales have always frightened me, for me, a little bit of a script is good. Too much of a script, and then I get too rigid. But just some type of a fluidity in which I can follow, I found is incredibly helpful.
An outline. So,
And
this is where, again, having a script is fine. You can practice. I believe in playing around with your script and then videotaping yourself.
yes.
You know, people are also petrified of getting on the video. Just do it on Zoom. No one has to see it.
Mhm.
Just erase them all when you're done. But what that does is allow you to see how other people are seeing you.
Mhm.
How are you showing up? And if you start to practice, how are you presenting? Are you getting your message across? Are people hearing you? What words are you using over and over again that maybe you might want to change? I know we all have our favorite words that we use. I have my whole set. And I have to sometimes remind myself that I need to put in different words.
Yeah.
So having a script is good if you're going to practice it, but you want to make sure when you show up, you're using your own voice, you're being more authentic, and you're talking to the person that's there, not
Mm.
to the script in your head. Because if you want to connect, you have to talk to that person, not to your script.
Absolutely. But having a little bit of a script for me has supported me in leaning into those sales conversations. I think that's key.
Well, also having the benefits. I talked about benefits at the very beginning. If you know and make a list of all the benefits that you believe your clients receive from you, and you talk in terms of benefits and what that can do for the people that you're talking to, that's really where your script should be coming from. All the other things that we do and how we help people is fine. But when you start, this is where we get into asking questions. So
Mhm.
I talked about doing research, planning, finding out who you're talking to, starting those conversations. But when you start asking questions, that's when you start to find out, was my theory correct?
Right.
And then you want to start finding out what's important to them. What are they looking for? Where are they trying to go? What are they trying to achieve? What's most important to them in choosing, a mindset coach, a business coach, a sales coach? Where are their teams going? Where are they struggling? What are they trying to achieve? And when we take time to listen, and then find out what those answers are, then we could figure out, do we have the benefits that are going to help them solve that?
And only focus on those benefits. I remember when I was working with you, and I've heard so many people that you have worked with, of the features and the benefits are so key. And we've heard about them so often. When you first started talking about them, I'm like, yeah, we all know, features and benefits. But it is, you approach it from a different angle that I haven't heard before, which is incredibly impactful, that it can shift our mindset of how we're showing up in the conversation. Can you talk a little bit more about the features and benefits? Because it's so easy to be like, yeah, features and benefits.
Yes, features and benefits have always been that kind of aha moment in all of my training classes. So in my 5-week class, I don't even do presenting features and benefits till class number 4, because I believe that you have to go through all of this process, which we talked about process, to get to features and benefits. And features and benefits are your presentation, but it is the features of what you offer. And what you're doing is you're marrying the benefit that the client receives from that feature. And through the question section, you're going to ask specific questions to find out what the client needs and wants. And then you're going to only present the features of all of those things that you offer that are completely in alignment with what the client needs to solve their problem. So for example, a feature that I offer is I offer training classes, sales training classes. And what that means to you is your team would be actually start to develop the core fundamentals of being able to understand a process, to then go out and meet with your clients and find out what your clients need and want. and start making those connections. And those are the connections that are going to start to drive your revenues and then start to build your business and allow you to start to thrive. Now,
Connecting to what it is they're looking for.
so
Right?
connect the dots. What happens is most people talk in features, and basically I call that a feature dump. We do this, I 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 do this. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't connect it to the benefit that the client's going to receive from each one of those features, it means nothing to us. So think about how you want to be talked to. Like if someone's rattling off things to you, what does it mean to you? You're only going to listen if someone can connect the dots. Some people are good at connecting the dots. Most people are not. So connect the dots for them. And that's why I call features and benefits together, marry them together and make them part of your conversation.
It is absolutely pivotal. I will agree with you 110%.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So let's talk a little bit about, so people come to you and they are not successful, or they're not able to get out there, not to pick up the phone, send an email and do networking. What are a few questions or tools that you give or provide for your clients to explore to start opening up that door? Because sometimes it's kind of slammed shut.
Yeah. So, the first approach is people think, it's that cold calling, right? So some of the biggest challenges I have with people, they say, I can't do cold calling. I don't like picking up the phone. I don't know what to say when I go meet someone for the first time. So I do spend a lot of time, again, talking about, we do a lot of role playing. And then I also have them do a lot of video on their own, because what we need to do is actually practice, right? Because sales is a skill. And I believe it's a skill that can be learned if you practice it. So I teach a process. So it's, what's the process? And I think that's where people get stuck. Everyone gets stuck at different parts. Not everyone's the same. But when you are actually getting ready to make a phone call, what's the process? And I do a step-by-step for them. I bring in the 5 steps that I believe are going to help you be effective. And again, I kind of mentioned them. Who's your client? Do the research, do the planning. What are you going to say? How do you start that connection? And it's all about connecting, asking questions before you start giving the features and benefits. But, most of the people, the problems that they're having, they don't know how to start. It's starting, and it's the hardest part. It's the confidence piece. So I work on understanding that this is not about making a sales pitch. It's only about going out and having a conversation with your clients.
And being of service.
And being of service, right? Because we're there to help them. And if you can stop thinking about the sale and thinking about going out and helping people. And if my only goal is to go out and find people who need help or are trying to grow their business and are struggling, and I can help them, then I've achieved my goals. You can't go out and focus on making money. You have to go out and focus on what you do really well and what you do to help people and how you help other people grow. And when you focus on what you can help them achieve, the revenue comes in, because what they see that is you're being authentic, real, right? And I offer that roadmap to allow them to understand that this is the brilliance that they're bringing to the table.
And owning it.
Right? And it's, I heard a saying, it wasn't mine, but it was about confidence. And I hear a lot about, I just don't have the confidence to do it. And confidence is, and again, this is not my quote, but confidence is not knowing everything. It's about not knowing enough to go out and try, and having the confidence to go try and get out there and do something. Because confidence, you're never going to know everything about everything. I'm constantly learning. I've been doing sales for 40 years, and I am constantly learning something new every single day from other people.
Curiosity is going to get you very far. Compassionate curiosity for yourself and for those around. I think that is a big piece, is we get in the mindset of I can't, and our thoughts at the beginning of a process directly impact the outcome of what it is that we're going to do. I mean, I've certainly experienced it by all means. It's that story piece, which we were talking about in the green room before we jumped in, is sharing your story. How much do you share of your story? Do you wait to be asked? Do you sort of give it up front? What are your suggestions on that?
I'm not sure there's any one particular rule. I like, when we first start a conversation with a new client, there's a lot of vulnerability there. And sometimes when we start with the story, exactly, right? When we start with a little bit of a story about ourselves, I work with a lot of people that are challenged by sales. So I usually start with the story about, when I first started in sales, anyone who could talk to anybody was thrown into sales without any training. So, I was fortunate enough that I got the training early in my career. And so that I was able to then get that experience and actually have that. And I'm able to talk about, I'm like everybody else without the training, without having a process, without understanding that sales, like everything else that we do, is a skill. And the more you do it, the more you practice it, it becomes an ability. And the better you get at it and the more you practice, the better you get at it. And the more comfortable you are, the more confident, the more competent. And people buy from people that are confident.
That is so true. Confidence is absolutely sexy, but we also can't get caught up in that, have to show up and be confident. But you're so true. And there are people who are extremely competent, but they don't bring the confidence, and they can lose the sale. They don't get in the conversations, and they are giving away the business to someone who has half the amount of skill, but they're showing up and either owning it or just BSing their way through it, and they're doing a decent job. So I think that is, thank you for sharing that bit about the story, because it is important to be able to put it out there.
Yeah, because when you think about when you purchase, and I'm just going to put it back, when we buy something from somebody, or we're going to go into a contract with somebody, if they're not confident about what they're giving you, you're not going to sign with them.
Something's going to be off, and you can't even tell what it is, right? That, especially that authenticity piece.
Right. So own your brilliance, own that, and be there, and know what you're bringing to the table. And that's what I help my clients understand, that this is the brilliance that they have. And this is how they can start to have those conversations. And this is how they can get out and not be giving sales pitches. And I think that's where people get scared. Like, I can't be one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But I teach them a different way of showing up. It's customer centric. It's about building a relationship. It's about making those connections. Hey, if you make a sale at the end of the day, great. But I shared this research with you before, Lisa. The first time you meet with a new client, whether it's in a networking event or face-to-face, research has shown that only 3% of people are ready to buy from you the first time you meet them, which means 97% of the people are not ready to buy from you the first time you meet with them. So why are you putting all this pressure on yourself?
Oh my gosh. Right.
Right.
I just heard something yesterday that said, because of the internet technology, all of these things, the advancements, it used to be takes 8 times to be in front of someone, but they said now it's actually around 21 times, 21 touches. Right. Not necessarily conversations, but touches, which was just mind blowing to me. So it's that consistency, showing up, serving, and not doggedly, but just of service.
And authentically, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we come from our heart, when we talk from our heart, because we know what we have to offer changes people's lives. We're able to help them open those doors. We're helping them change their mindset so that they can be successful. When we come from our heart and we come from that place of service, and we come from that place where we know that we can help somebody make a difference in their lives, for their family, for their own personal goals, people can feel that. But I want people, and that's what I try to help my clients do, is really own that. It's through those programs that I do that really helps them own it, feel more confident, and can get out there, have some fun with it, right? Because this is about, and at the end of the day, you just might be meeting new people. And even if you're not, right? Even if you're not making the sale, you've met some new people. And don't underestimate connecting, because I've had people call me after I met somebody 3 years ago, just recently. I met you a couple of years ago. You might not remember me, but we had such a great conversation. I'm now in a position where I'm looking to hire somebody, and can we have a call? And I'm like,
I had that happen to me when I was catering. It was like 5 years later or something crazy like that. She kept my card. When you show up and you do your best, and it's amazing what comes from that. We are at time, if you can believe it. It's just been so fast. I want to ask you a question. What one habit or boundary has helped you live and lead a more sustainable life?
A couple big changes in my life. Well, of course, COVID changed a lot of things, but one habit that I started doing is I started my own garden this year. I put in a couple of raised beds, and every morning I spend some time outside, fresh air with my cup of coffee, just outside, just watching my garden grow. It's a place of peace. So, meditation, I probably do my own little bit of meditation, but that takes me out of my work, puts me in a place that makes me incredibly happy. I'm growing some amazing food that I'm now processing for winter. So in the middle of February, I'm going to be pulling out some fresh fruits and vegetables that I'm going to remember planting them and getting ready for winter. So it's my happy place. And it's keeping me grounded so that when I hop on with clients and I start doing the rest of my work, I've done something for myself that makes me feel really good. And then it allows me to show up 100% for my clients.
Beautiful. Where can people find you if they want to reach out, connect, and just learn a little bit more about your services and how you might be able to help them?
So I am very active on LinkedIn. So it's Ronda Berns. You can look me up right on LinkedIn and go ahead and follow me. I put a follow, so it's real easy. Would love to connect, but you can follow without any obligation there. So go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. Or on my website, talks a lot about who I am, where I come from, some of the philosophy. But, doing a one-to-one, there's a place to contact, which is just rondaberns.com. So as long as you spell my name right, you should be able to find me really easily. But LinkedIn is probably where I'm the most active. I make a commitment to be on there every week, whether on video. And I want to share those tips. So I'm sharing a lot of information. So if you want to get regular tips on how to be better at sales and how to get out there and how to achieve and build your business and thrive, then check out my LinkedIn account and follow me there.
Definitely recommend it. So many great tools and skills and all of that you share. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Next week, September 7th, I have the dynamic Donna Cravata is going to be showing up, and she's going to be talking about how stories are the heart of your business. It is essential to be bringing those stories and sharing those stories. So join us next week, September 9th, 10 a.m. East Coast, 7 a.m. for those out there on the West Coast. And I will see you then. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.